Many sources says many assassinations can occur in Turkey organized by NATO and CIA. Is this possible? What do you think?
It's absolutely possible. As a former CIA spy, I'm less inclined to think that CIA is going to do this. CIA tends to provide the money and the technology, and they then look to Saudi Arabia and Israel and Belgians and Germans and others to do the dirty work. You are under attack. You will have more false flag attacks. You will have more assassinations. You will have more electronic attacks, power outages, things like that, because Erdogan is now seen as a linchpin for stability. Turkey is the center of the earth between Europe, Central Asia, Arabia, and Africa. I think you are going to rise to the occasion, and I pray that you do. But the bottom line here is you're at war now, and it's an asymmetric war, and you cannot assume that anybody is your friend. The U.S. government lies for a living. U.S. ambassadors lie regularly. It's one of the greatest shames of my personal life as a U.S. citizen. I am in the middle of a fight with the leaders of the U.S. intelligence community who are lying to the president-elect about Russia hacking the U.S. election. We lie a lot. Now, you have to understand that the Kurds, as with the Palestinians, are not seen by many people as terrorists. They are seen as freedom fighters. And so from where I sit, it's necessary to have a more balanced view of Kurdistan as opposed to, say, ISIS or Iraqi Sunni renegades or Saudi Sunni mercenaries. Economic sanctions, in my view, are an act of war. And they are completely inappropriate between sovereign nations. I will tell you what I told Ecuador. Spend a year planning for it, and then throw out all of the representatives of every country that is doing sanctions against you. You don't need them. Be an independent Turkey. Donald Trump has enormous potential because he was elected by accident. All of the bookmakers said that he was not going to win. His best odds were 20-1. His worst odds were 200-1. He won at the very end because the Department of Homeland Security stopped the electronic voting fraud that Hillary Clinton used to steal 13 state primaries from Bernie Sanders. And he won because of the emails, which were leaked by the good guys in the National Security Agency and by an insider in the Democratic National Committee. I'm in the process of calling out the intelligence community leaders for being liars. They are lying to Donald Trump. Now, this leads to the problem. Donald Trump has already been captured by Goldman Sachs. He is already surrounded by people from the establishment who are filtering the information that reaches him. He is already being controlled by the U.S. Secret Service on where he goes and who he meets. Donald Trump is probably the hardest president they have ever had to control since they assassinated John F. Kennedy. He is acutely conscious of the fact that he himself could be assassinated any day. I believe that Donald Trump wants to close our bases in Europe, our bases in the Middle East. I believe that he wants to shut down NATO. I also believe that Lynn Rothschild and Evelyn Rothschild have the power to give Donald Trump $20 billion so that he'll stop talking about that. So right now, it's a roll of the dice. The United States is not a democracy. The United States is a fascist corporate state in which the banks, on behalf of the Rothschild family, control the two-party tyranny. So we have no right to be critical of Turkey. So from my perspective, Turkey is absolutely central. All sins should be forgiven as long as Turkey becomes a stabilizing force in the Middle East. And to become a stabilizing force in the Middle East, it needs to deepen its alliance with Russia and Iran, and it needs to put the Saudis and Israelis back into very small boxes. Obama is a puppet. He is a servant to Wall Street. He does what he's told. He's also being lied to. Obama has lost all of his integrity. These sanctions against Russia, in my view, are Obama's doing the bidding of the neoconservative warmongers that General Wesley Clark said have hijacked the U.S. government. Obama is doing this for money. He is not doing this as a matter of principle. And I absolutely salute President Putin for showing restraint. All he has to do is wait for Donald Trump to get into office, and I think these sanctions will be reversed. Now, we do have a problem, because Donald Trump's worst enemy in the U.S. government is not the Democrats. It's the Republicans. The Republicans and the Democrats together favor the banking model that treats war as a business case. We are really desperately in need of an international open source intelligence capability that can demonstrate to the American people with precision the deep corruption that exists across the entire United States system, starting with Goldman Sachs and going all the way down to the Republican National Committee, which, by the way, I think the next batch of leaked emails will bury the Republicans. Now, let's divide this into two parts. Part one is who created, actually three parts. There are three parts to ISIS: who created them, who controls them, and who profits from them. Saudi Arabia and the United States of America created ISIS. There is absolutely no question about that fact. ISIS is largely controlled by Saudi Arabia and Israel. Israel has embedded officers with ISIS. ISIS is also a fragmented mob. So I don't think you can really say it's under control. I think the Russians have done a tremendous job of smashing them, but I am very upset by what we've done to Aleppo. I think Putin could be enormously helpful here. I don't know if anyone in Turkey noticed, but Iran reached out to Trump recently. The president of Iran announced publicly that he bought Boeing aircraft and Airbus aircraft for 50% of the announced price. That's not only my number, that's also Trump's number. We are in agreement that the U.S. government and most people worldwide are paying double. They should not be paying as much as they're paying. I believe that Putin could help show Trump that Turkey is essential to a new world order that displaces NATO, that displaces the neo-Nazis, that displaces Saudi Arabia and...
Başaramayacaksınız. Milletimizi bölemeyeceksiniz. Bayrağımızı indiremeyeceksiniz. Vatanımızı parçalayamayacaksınız. Devletimizi yıkamayacaksınız. Ezanlarımızı susturamayacaksınız. Bu ülkeye diz çöktüremeyeceksiniz. Bu halka boyundurup vuramayacaksınız.